And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Forging the Falcons. Let me bring in our Facebook communities here. All Falcons, Atlanta Falcons fans on All Falcons on Facebook, and then Scott Kennedy Sports on Facebook. Let me bring those two in here and get rolling. And welcome in, everyone. This is Forging the Falcons. I'm Scott Kennedy, your host and co-host and good friend, Nick Kendall. I'm in Atlanta. Lifelong Atlanta sports follower, and this is Nick Kendall. He's in Seattle, a connoisseur of football, of the finer things of life. Really good. Hopefully most of y'all have noticed by now, but if you're new to the show, welcome in and hit that like, share, and subscribe so you can come back. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Nick, how are you doing this morning?
I am doing pretty well. Been a busy week for me, stressful week, but got an article in for Chad yesterday, so feeling good about that. And we're a week away, pretty much. I mean, I'm not including today, so next Thursday it's happening. So really excited and really happy to be here. Really enjoying this Forging the Falcons show and spreading my tentacles into other sports areas. A little bit too inbred sometimes with the Broncos stuff, so good to get out there with some of these game theory thoughts and draft pick analysis and just kind of thinking about it from a different way than just the Broncos.
Yeah, to see what other people are doing, and it's fun.
Yeah.
I've always said I'm a fan of the process as much of anything. Growing
Yes.
up an Atlanta sports fan in the '80s, by God, I better know minor league baseball. I better know the NFL draft because my
Yeah.
teams were awful, and that's kind of how I got into what I ended up doing. People, ask me how did I get into this? Well, that's kind of how I took a liking to following it. A couple things we want to get into today. I want to lead off with Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett was not in attendance at Falcons OTAs the first day, which is interesting. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the 3-round alternating mock draft between Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, which I really enjoyed, actually. We'll break down the Falcons picks, some of the players that were available, and we'll take a look at some of the picks that are in and around there. So that means we'll hit on several other teams as well. And then finally, we will do a mock draft of our own, a 7-round mock draft on PFF, which they updated their board, which I noticed last night. When I'm kind of killing some time, if I'm processing a video or uploading something, I'll run through a mock draft real quick. And I'm like, wait a minute. These guys I used to be able to get in the 6th that I really liked as a cheat code are now up in the 3rd round type. So, Nick, I think it's going to be a little tougher for us to get the players we really like because PFF is catching up. So
maybe other guys we like will be there though, but I'm really happy.
You know what I always said when I was doing rankings at Scout: for anything that moves up, someone's got to move down. It's not a zero sum. Everybody can't be ranked in the top 10. That's just mathematically impossible. Yep. Of course, that said, one of the people I've worked with in this industry, what they like to do is just create as many positions as possible. So you did have everybody in the top 10 at their position.
I mean, it's good. That's probably good.
It's good marketing. Yep, it's good marketing for sure. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I never really liked and I wanted to fix, and I'm not in that part of the business anymore, was I hated the athlete category. He's ranked as an athlete. I hated that. There is no athlete position. You're playing something. So it was our job. So, when I was like, well, we can't rate them in multiple positions, then it hit me a couple of years later. I'm like, why not? Why can't we rank them in multiple positions? Why can't I rank? And one of the guys was Eric Armstead, a big, he ended up being a defensive lineman, but my God, he would have been a Hall of Fame offensive tackle. 1st round defensive lineman. Yeah. I would have rated him the number 1 player in the country at offensive tackle. Yeah. And I think he got 5 stars as OT, and I would have put him in the teens, as a defensive lineman. He just had that OL body and, everything about him. We talk a little bit about that, like Logan Hall. There's several of those guys. D'Anthony Thomas, the Black Mamba up at Oregon, ended up in the NFL. He would have been a 5-star corner. Rank him in multiple positions. So that would have been kind of cool. But anyway,
you're giving me a little bit of anxiety because there's the number 1 offensive tackle recruit in 2023, I believe, is from Des Moines, Iowa, and he's looking at Iowa. But Alabama's calling, Ohio State's calling, Georgia's calling, Notre Dame's calling. So we'll see. But if there's any position where we can get you in the NFL from Iowa, God bless it, it's offensive line. So,
yeah, it should be offensive line for sure. But first off, I want to get into to Grady Jarrett.
Yes,
that was kind of the big news that came in. Wasn't who was there. Marcus Mariota was there, but who wasn't there? Grady Jarrett. one of the last veterans kind of still around with the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan gone, Julio Jones gone. Some of the bigger names. Grady Jarrett is one of the last big name veteran guys there. You could throw Deion Jones in there, but he's not on the same level as those other guys. Absent from the first day. Nick, what do you think?
I think he is a veteran who knows that he's not mandatory to be there and is using his leverage or power or pull to say, you know what, I'm not really going to be there, but this is not mandatory, is my understanding. So a lot of players kind of do this
Mhm.
at this part of their career for somebody like Grady Jarrett. That said, maybe there's more to it. Maybe it's something like, hey, this is not a. Obviously, we keep saying it on here, and I hate to disparage you guys so much, but it's just the reality is this is not a very good roster. Maybe he's saying like, you know what, move me.
It's time to
Either
move.
pay me or move me.
And
Yeah,
and the thing is of all the guys that the Falcons have moved, he's the only one that you could actually get something back for. Whether
yeah.
it's, in this case, money. Instead of eating 40 million of dead cap and having to max you, it hurts you not to have him on the roster with Matt Ryan. You could actually get about $17 million back if you move Grady Jarrett because he's in the last year of his contract, instead of in the second year of a 5-year extension where you gave him a $70 million signing bonus. So
Mhm.
he actually makes sense where you could move him, get maybe I don't know. Do you get? I don't think you get a first rounder for interior lineman, even as
Oh,
good as he is anymore.
no.
A second, maybe third rounder in there for Grady Jarrett.
I mean, you might be overvaluing him still, unfortunately, because the contract that's taking on and what I mean, Von Miller, we saw what contract he got on the open market, but you got a second and third for him with eating the deal. You got, what is it, a second round pick and a third round pick
You got
for,
a second and third. Grady's considerably younger though, and in a little bit different position where
yeah,
he's not going to be. The fall off at the edge rusher shouldn't be quite as bad. But that said, he's not Von Miller either. He is
no.
a really good interior lineman.
I think it's probably an assortment of round four picks. Maybe you get a round three, but I think it's multiple years of early round four picks kind of thing. So,
And getting a
uh,
2023 and moving it up a number,
yeah,
might not
exactly.
be a bad thing. So we'll send you a third this year, a second next year. We'll take the second next year.
Yeah.
Something like that. So he's not the kind of he's usually one of the first guys in the building. He is a leader. I think his absence speaks of is sending a little bit of a message. I'm sure he's in touch with his teammates. I'm
Mhm.
sure his teammates support him because he's always supported them. But I thought that was very interesting. So let me say hello to some folks, DWI guys coming in early. Saying good afternoon, gents. Broncos and Falcons country. Looks like PFF updated their draft rankings. Yes, they did, and we're going to run through a mock draft before we get out of here, and I'm looking forward to it. We might not be able to get Josh Pascal at 80 something. We might have to move him up the board a little bit. Zach Tom was another big riser. Uh, the combo offensive lineman from Wake Forest who uses a cheat code to get in the sixth and then would get a bad grade for it. Yeah, he's up in the double digits now instead of the triple digits. Luke writes, good morning, Nick and Scott. We are so close to the draft. I can't wait. Is there any plans for the draft? Maybe a draft war room. We will have extended coverage. And on the night of the draft, we will be over on Mile High Huddle. And for those of y'all, come in and hit that like button that are watching on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to ask Chad about bringing and syncing up my Falcons channel to the Mile High Huddle stream that night so that y'all can. I'll be there hosting. Nick will be there hosting, and then we'll have guests coming in all the time. So it'll be two familiar faces for everybody. It'll just say Mile High Huddle on the outside, but we'll be talking draft. Broncos don't even have a freaking draft pick
Yeah.
on the first night, so we'll be talking a lot of drafts. So I'm gonna talk to Chad about that, about bringing in my Falcons community into that stream too, which I'm sure he'll be all for there.
Yeah.
EJ coming in. So good morning, Scott and Nick. Let's talk some football. US Dave, good morning. Hi, all. Brian Dunn. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. And Nick, Falling Sloth coming in. And then Kenneth coming in, KB82. Kenneth says, what are your thoughts on Trayvon Walker maybe going number 1 overall? Nick, I'll let you lead.
I mean, it is a risky move because what is truly valuable from defensive front players is the pass rush. But I do think that it's a higher floor than a lot of people mean. It's not going to be like, oh, he's going to Deion Jordan his way if you take him there. No, Deion Jordan was soft and not only couldn't rush the passer, couldn't stop the run to save his life. Trayvon Walker could come in 2 years from now. He's the best run defense edge in the NFL. He's already that good there. He's only 20 years old, playing last year on his tape, and he has incredible length and power. That said, there is definitely something to be said about his bend and his pass rush plan right now that is very much a work in progress. You are doing a lot of projection there. At Georgia, he wasn't given a lot of free room to rush the passer. He was mainly lined up as a 5 technique directly over the offensive tackle rather than, a 7 technique or even a wide 9, which he will probably see more of in the NFL. But his usage is going to be interesting. It's really going to depend on how much you trust your coaches. But if there's any position where athletic traits translate one for one in the NFL draft to the league, it is the edge rusher spot. Now, there's no guarantees. I would probably, as much as I thought I loved Trayvon Walker, I would still take Aiden Hutchinson number 1 just because I think his pass rush floor is much higher. But I can understand why you'd be interested in that. Also, I love Walker's versatility. If you're trying to live in a world where you're playing less guys in the box because you want to play more defensive backs, Trayvon Walker is a massive plus for you on the run defense. You can even live with a little bit smaller interior defensive lineman because you can almost 2-gap from the edge, which is insane with his length and power. So I get it. Another thing, I was listening to the PFF podcast, and they brought this up. Spite runs deep in the NFL. There's a lot of petty men out there in the league. And Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan man, Jim Harbaugh and Trent Baalke had a very public and ugly breakup. I wonder if Trent Baalke, the Jacksonville Jaguars GM, would be petty enough to not get Aiden Hutchinson in because he's Jim Harbaugh's guy, instead go with Trayvon Walker. So a lot of weird dynamics to think about.
There's a lot of good reasons to take him number 1 on his own merits too. And what's
Yeah.
interesting is you mentioned his age. They didn't maybe not let him do as many different things. That's part of it. As a third-year junior, what if he's a fifth-year senior? What if he sticks around 2 more years? Then he's, the captain of the defense. He's doing all those type of things. And what's interesting to me is you describe him almost as a blue-collar guy. He's a blue-collar guy with elite athleticism, with, one of the best athletic scores you're going to see in this position in the NFL. Second maybe to Adafa Owe coming out last year. So 260 pounds, blue collar. So he'll do a job. That's what's interesting to me. He's not just out there to stat pad. He'll out there and go out there and do something for the team. But if I need a 260 pound 4-5 guy with amazing traits to go, Trayvon, just go get the quarterback. Okay, coach. You've got it. So there's a lot of good reasons for me to go Trayvon Walker number 1 overall. But right now, the tea leaves are all saying Aiden Hutchinson, but we'll see. I do not think Trayvon Walker is going to be there at 8. If he is, I would love that pick for the Atlanta Falcons.
I feel like 5
Keith
is
Robbins coming in on Facebook saying, good morning, Keith. Appreciate you being here. Franklin Peterson, hello there. And Roderick Cook kind of saying what we all think. Grady deserves a move. He'd go with my best wishes. Me too. Yep, me too. I feel the same way about Matt Ryan. The difference with Grady, with no fault of Matt Ryan's own. I mean, you put a contract in front of him, he signs it. To no fault of his own, Grady's contract would actually be better to move on. I think it's about a $17 million cap savings if you moved him, and then you get a pick or 2 back. So, yeah, even if you don't spend it this year, roll it over to next year. Wow, wouldn't that be interesting? If the Falcons had rollover cap money instead of being $17 million in the hole to start the year. They're going to be $160 million in the green to start 2023. I think that's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And Champagne Bath coming in on YouTube. Appreciate you here. He says AJ Terrell and Arthur Smith interview yesterday, basically without telling us that they are drafting a quarterback first, depending on if their guy is still there at 8. We'll see. Part of that is if you want to move down, you want the quarterbacks to move up. So you get a better return for quarterbacks than you do any other position. So I'm hoping not. I really am. I would just assume. I just don't think this team is going to be very good, and you're going to be in the knocking distance of a better quarterback in 2023 with C.J. Stroud, with Bryce Young. Shoot, even if you get Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, there's 4 guys in next year's draft I'd rather have than anybody in this class right now.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me started. I already was getting all the work in for the 2023 quarterback class. Anthony Richardson was a super high recruit. If you like Malik Willis this year, you're going to love the traits probably of Anthony Richardson. Now, there's some projection there, but watch out for him. Will Levis is a really interesting player as well at Kentucky. Good athlete, has a great arm, and there's I think his name is Cam Ward. He played at a small school but transferred to Washington State, and there's a lot of hype actually around him right now building as well. So 2023 looks to be a good class. If I was the Falcons, I would be more interested, if you are wanting a quarterback in this class, trading up from using both your second round picks and trading back up into the first round for a guy to get the fifth round option like a Desmond Ridder, or trading back and seeing where it is from there. But taking 1 at 8 probably means Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett. I think you probably better usage of your resources, and you hit on it already. It's kind of what we saw with Justin Fields last year. Terrible team, terrible roster around him. You're kind of tanking one of the cost-controlled years, which is one of the big benefits of taking a rookie quarterback. So it'd be tough. It'd be a tough sell for me.
Well, and I was for taking Justin Fields last year, and I guess I probably didn't realize how bad a situation this roster could possibly be in. At the time, I'm looking at, okay, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and then you get Matt Ryan coming off the books, but they restructured him, so they ended up eating that dead cap this year. So you would have had 2 years of awfulness with Justin Fields. So that's a lot to eat. There's 40% of what you've got in a contract there before you're able to do anything with them. KB coming in with the super. Appreciate you coming in with our first super chat of the day, Kenneth. Appreciate you. So what are the chances Ruggs' NFL career is over? Ridley's? Ruggs?
I think you mean
from the Raiders
DUI.
Ruggs?
DUI.
The 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Henry Ruggs from the Raiders.
Yeah.
I think it's about 100%. He's in for like vehicular manslaughter. I mean, his is really bad. If we're talking about Ridley,
go ahead.
Yeah, if we're talking about Ridley, I don't think it's over. I think his Falcons career is over. I do think his Falcons career is over. I thought that last November, listening to the way Arthur Smith was talking about him, was like, yeah, no update. Basically he's done here. Because they were going to trade him. It came out after the fact that they were going to trade him in the offseason. Now you're even more pissed. now he didn't get anything back for him, and he's out there tweeting nonsense. So for me, I think Ridley will be back in the NFL. I think he probably cost himself between $40 and $50 million by betting $1,500 on some stupid app. And I think his Atlanta Falcons career is over, but I do think he will get another chance. Jason L coming in. Good morning, Jason. I think Malik is also a prospect for the Falcons because he's from Alpharetta. Went to Roswell. When I saw him at Roswell High School, and I guess he transferred up from Westlake. I didn't quite understand that when I didn't remember that down in Atlanta where Cam's from. I don't remember AJ Terrell being from Westlake either, but I saw a headline that says, AJ Terrell talking about former Westlake teammate Malik Willis. I'm like, really? They went to Westlake High School? I didn't actually understand that one. So Malik is from Roswell. I like the local kid. I think he would. It's somebody that the fan base could rally around. I don't know if he's good enough. I don't know if he's got the accuracy and the throwing chops you need in order to play this position long term in the NFL. Love him, be worth a flyer on him, but a number 8 pick isn't a flyer, especially in this draft. With the players that are going to be available at 8, you've got pretty much sure things at 8.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Malik Willis isn't a sure thing.
Question for you then, Scott. Wide receiver or quarterback at 8? If you had to pick one, gun to your head. Garrett Wilson is there. They love him.
I'd probably take wide receiver.
Okay.
I'd probably go wide receiver at 8 instead of quarterback, just because I think, again, the sure thing factor, I think you're guaranteed a good wide receiver at 8. You're not guaranteed anything out of this quarterback class. And that's not where you want to be. That's just not where you want to be. Aaron Moore coming in. You talked about Dion, and this is where I've been all the time. Is trade down and load up in the trenches.
Yeah.
This is a trench draft. This is a trenches draft. I don't care if you take 3 offensive tackles. So be it. If Zach Tom is there, I saw. I'm drafting down there, and there's Matt Waletzko in the 4th. Well, you already took a guy in the mock draft we're about to go through. Evan Neal was available at 8. Yes, please. Click the button. Yes, I'll take Evan Neal at 8.
Yep.
And let him play right tackle for 2 years until I decide what I want to do with Jake Matthews. Whatever. Move Jake Matthews over to right tackle.
Evan Neal has been good at guard too.
But and then there's so many good trench players in there. This is definitely the time I want to load up in the draft.
I will say there's one thing I wanted to bring up there for your offensive line, defensive line talk. Do you have any thoughts on cornerback? Because the way this class is shaping up, it feels like there's a pretty obvious drop off as far as starting quality guys after the first 5. And after that, it's a bunch of hoping and praying kind of prospects. So if you do trade down, I think there's an argument. It's if you want to walk away with a future starting caliber cornerback, it probably does need to be in the first 40 picks, maybe in the first round. Is there worth talk there? But since you brought in got Hayward and Oliver back, is that not as much of a need? I mean, if Sauce is there at 8, fine. I mean, Stingley had a great pro day. Apparently, also he suffered his Liz Frank injury in August, not in the season. So he was trying to play through it last year. That's why his tape was so poor, and that like the timing of that adds up, considering how bad his tape was, and then he shut it down. So his tape was really good in 2019. So it's just interesting to think about.
What's interesting, PFF has McDuffie as ahead of, I think, the number 1 corner. They may still have Stingley up number 1.
I think it's Stingley, Sauce, then McDuffie.
So, but if those guys are in, and I think Stingley is worthy of 8 if he's healthy. I know Sauce is worthy of 8 if he's healthy, and I don't know so much about McDuffie. I got no problem with that position. Hayward's a 1-year guy, maybe 2, and then if I've got 2 guys, I mean, it's a different NFL. You know, it used to be like, okay, if I had, you know, the Saints fearsome foursome at linebacker, you know, back in the 80s with Sam Mills and Ricky Jackson and that group, that was big time. Well, you could do that with the defensive secondary. Now that's where you need them. So if I could get 2 AJ Terrells, yes, please. That would be it's a little different. You build edge and then you build back to front almost these days in the NFL. So I would be okay with a corner. It's really the only strength of this team right now, cornerback. Yeah. But it could go away in a hurry. Isaiah Oliver got hurt. You've got one sure thing healthy, and that's AJ Terrell. So I would be okay for sure there. Yeah. Chris Walker coming in saying, "Good morning, guys. Don't want Kyler Murray. Me neither. I don't want. They're all divas to a certain extent, but Matt Ryan handles things as professionally as you possibly could. And when his first interview with the Colts, it's actually on my channel. If you want to go back and see it, it's the only one I've cut up on there. And he basically says, I've always believed that, you keep the organization's business in-house. He goes, I didn't like everything I heard. And he kind of joked about it. He says, but you protect the organization. There's ways to handle things, and there's ways that I don't like seeing in my leader, in my quarterback. And right now, Kyler Murray's ticking that box. And I don't think he's good enough where he's Aaron Rodgers, where I'm willing to look over some things that come off a little on the selfish side. One, Aaron Rodgers is better. Two, he's earned it. He's earned it. He's been in the league for, a decade. If you're a 5'10" guy in baseball, you can do things a little bit differently. Kyler Murray's not that guy yet. Not on the field, not off the field, where he can act like that. So I don't want to spend the draft capital on a Kyler Murray. Appreciate the comment, Chris.
And it's also the conversation of knowing where you are in your window. If you were, let's say, the Broncos roster before Russell Wilson, maybe it makes a little bit more sense to go out there and get Kyler Murray because you are theoretically a quarterback away. This Falcons team, unfortunately, they could use obviously a young quarterback, but they are far from a quarterback away. And unfortunately for them also, it's pretty much at all the premium positions. Don't trust any of the edges. You have one good cornerback right now that's, building block level player. You have, I would say Jake Matthews, even though he's not great, he's good enough where you can consider him fine at the premium position. And no wide receivers. Kyle Pitts, I guess you can categorize him as a wide receiver, but it just doesn't make sense with where you are in your life cycle as a team right now.
So Aaron says, I need to see a chart, but I like the 6'2", 4'3", corner from Cincinnati. That might be Sauce Gardner. Sauce is the guy we're talking about. He's got great length, great speed, swagger. He's really good. I'd take Sauce in a heartbeat at 8 and be happy with it without a doubt. Luke says, what is that behind me? Depends on what you're asking. Behind me, my backdrop today is Stamford Bridge, which will be the home of the Chelsea-Arsenal game, which is a little bit like Duke, North Carolina. They're not that far apart. They're both London teams. And so I'm Chelsea'd up today. Chelsea coffee mug, got my kit. And then this is a phone holder. This is my little penguin here. My daughter loves that here. So, I'm a big kid at heart. So Before we get any farther, I want to say hello to our presenting sponsor today, Ryan Kennedy Homes. So the Georgia real estate market, the Metro Atlanta real estate market, has never been hotter. The houses are selling before they're hitting the market. So if you're looking for a house in this area, you want to come to this area, like so many from New York and California fleeing their states are, you got to have an agent because they're not even hitting the market anymore. I see it every day. If you want to take advantage of this market and you're looking to upgrade or downsize or anything like that, and you want to sell your house, you want to have an agent because people are coming in with cash offers. And my friend, my wife just looked up my friend. This is my wife. Yes. My friend asked me, he says, can you look up this house in my neighborhood? There's like rumors going around what it sold for. It was listed at 430. It sold for 530. So that's what this market is doing right now for sure. Is going bonkers in Metro Atlanta, and you're gonna want to have an agent. So your agent should be Ryan Kennedy, RyanKennedyHomes.com. You got the phone number there. Check it out, and you won't be sorry, I promise. So Nick, wanted to talk a little bit about the mock draft, the 3-round mock that Mel Kiper and Todd McShay did, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed reading it. There's some questionable things in there, of course. But as much flack as I give Todd McShay, I thought they did a pretty good job with this one. If you have any comments or you want to lead into it, or I can just start getting into it.
Let's get into it.
Okay. They alternated picks, which for me is interesting because if you saw last week, Nick and I did one where we alternated. I had the Falcons and he had the Broncos. And it's tough. It's tough that way because, in your own mind, even if it's like trying to play chess against yourself, okay, I could do this, but you still know what you're going to do. I could leave this guy because I want to take him here. But when they're alternating, I thought they did a really good job. And the first pick coming off the board, they went Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau, Sauce Gardner, the corner we're talking about, to the Jets at 4, Ike Ekwonu at 5, Malik Willis, the first quarterback off the board, at 6, Jermaine Johnson at 7. McShay had the odds, and Kiper had the evens, so it was Kiper's pick at 8. And Mel Kiper Jr. picked Garrett Wilson, wide receiver of Ohio State. And his intro was, what do the Falcons need here? I'd say everything. I absolutely agree. There isn't one spot you could take reasonably here because there's no tight end. That you couldn't say, oh, yeah, well, they didn't need that guy. What'd they do that for? They didn't need him. They need everything. Yeah. Quarterback, wide receiver, corner, tackle, name it. They need it. So whoever you take here is going to fit a need. Wilson is a smooth route runner with elite speed and can be their number 1 receiver. Nick, your thoughts?
Very good player. I'd have no issue with it. He's a 3-level threat, can do some yak stuff. Yeah, I get it. I agree with you, though, on the whole, even though the wide receiver market is ballooning right now, like an incredible way. I mean, we have all 3 of the big wide receivers from that class just a few years ago. I guess not all 3 because DK is not sitting out, but 3 of the 4 big wide receivers from that class, and Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, and Deebo Samuel sitting out for new contracts, which is crazy, but that shows where the wide receiver market's going. So getting ahead of that with a pick at 8 overall, I understand. That being said, I think wide receivers are coming in today better with route concepts and understanding of spacing than ever before. And so it's not typically the 3-year window, 2-year window that it used to be before that wide receiver takes off. They're coming in pretty well and good to go. So for a team that is definitely in a young stage as far as the roster building right now, does it make sense to take a wide receiver right now when the quarterback play is going to be, for what Marcus Mariota is, okay, but I think it's probably makes more sense to get a more developmental position here that takes a couple seasons before they really hit their stride going. So that way that, learning curve peaks the moment this team is ready to go as well and spend money at other spots to fortify the roster. So something like offensive tackle, edge rusher, defensive line, cornerback, I would lean into over wide receiver. But you're right, though. Get good players, and you have other picks to fill out other needs as well.
Yeah, it almost sounds a little contradictory when I talk about this, where I've basically said 2023 doesn't matter, or 2022 doesn't really matter. This team is going to be bad. So if that's the case, does it matter who you pick? Well, yes, it does for me. And one of the reasons why is because there's wide receivers every single year. There's wide receivers throughout the draft. There's wide receivers they're easy. They're fairly easy to come by to a certain extent. And why this is the third or fourth different wide receiver that these two guys have mocked to the Falcons. So it's not even like there's a consensus where you can say Kyle Pitts is the unicorn, or Jamar Chase is a number one. They've mocked Jamison Williams, Garrett Wilson. What's the kid from USC? I want to call him Drake London. Drake London.
Yep.
Yeah, the other one's a different Drake, the Drake Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Drake London. So if there's this many available that you think that could be at 8, then why take one of them at 8? Why not move down? Or, try and take somebody else. So for me, I want a little bit more of a rare commodity, and I want somebody to help me in the trenches, because the skilled players don't matter if my trench play is awful.
Yeah.
It's not even competent. It's awful. So I look at this and I say, well, who is available? Because for me, if Stingley's healthy, I'll say 8. For me, there's 8 guys that are elite that I would take, which means there was 3 of them available. And those 3 available for me would be Kyle Hamilton, Evan Neal, and Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley's a maybe for me. So there's 2 available. Evan Neal goes at the next pick to the Seattle Seahawks. And Kyle Hamilton goes at 11 to Washington. I would take either one of those 2 picks. Y'all know Lowe comes in and says Jordan Davis or Sauce. Sauce was already gone. And Jordan Davis I'd be okay with, but I don't know that I'd want to take him at 8. If I could move down a little bit, I'd rather get Travis Jones later than use this high of a pick on Jordan Davis. But I would be Sauce. I would definitely say okay for. With these 2 available picks, I would have gone Evan Neal, excuse me, or Kyle Hamilton. How about you, Nick?
I would have gone Evan Neal. I know that you have Caleb McGarry in house, but I don't care. He's very bad, and
that's not a plus, though.
Nope. That's
having Caleb McGarry in house, and he's on a 1-year of contract. And if they pick up his 5th-year option, they're morons.
Yep. So essentially, he becomes the swing tackle. Maybe not the worst swing tackle in the world. It's probably his future in the league, given how much he's struggled. So I would go Evan Neal here, not think twice about it. And it gives you some long-term flexibility as far as what you can do with the contract with Jake Matthews as well. Mm-hmm. So leverage there. Flexibility is key in your team building, keeping that roster healthy and not getting it to the point where it is right now, contract-wise. So that's where I'd be leaning right now if the board fell this way. I don't expect Evan Neal to be down here, but Lord only knows. I mean, God.
Yeah, and a lot depends on the quarterback.
Yep.
If these guys go edge. From the very beginning when we started talking about this as Evan Neal being a possible number 1, 2 things have changed. 1, quarterback position has changed. There's more people talking about quarterbacks going top 8. And 2, Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker showed up. Several months ago, there wasn't as much talk about Trayvon Walker jumping up into that round. A little bit farther down, Drake London, that's Todd McShay's guy, went at 10. Kiper picked him for the New York Jets. I don't really want Drake London. I just don't. I mean, if you're not running your 40 when everybody else is, you've got question marks all over the place again. And to be fair, I don't really want a receiver at this spot, period. I'd rather get receivers later on when there's guys running 4.3s and 4.4s all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't want to use a number 8 on a wide receiver. Coming down just a little bit. Derek Stingley went 12 to the Vikings. Charles Cross all the way to 13. Trent McDuffie at 14 to the Ravens. I swear the Ravens always have my draft. They always have my draft. And then let's see, Jordan Davis, low, your guy goes off at 17 to the Chargers, which would be a really good pick for them. And that's closer to where I expect him to be taking. And I know he says that's because of the Grady situation. They play different positions, though, in this 3-4. If you draft Jordan Davis, you hand Grady Jarrett a contract extension and say, here, sign this. You're going to want to play next to this guy because you're not going to get triple teamed every time. There's a clip, Nick, where Grady Jarrett was mic'd up. They blocked him with 3 guys. And Grady Jarrett was like, don't y'all have anybody else to block? And my answer was like, no, they don't. No, they do not. And then we'll go down to the Falcons' next pick at 43. And the Falcons take it's McShay on this one, and he goes cornerback, Kyler Gordon from Washington. The Falcons brought in Casey Hayward Jr., but he's 32 years old. Correct. Corner, you can go corner. Gordon has some value here for a team that still needs more difference makers in the secondary behind A.J. Terrell. I'd say, with A.J. Terrell. But he doesn't sound very sure about this. He looks like he's saying, okay, they could use a corner. I like this guy on the board. Kyler Gordon. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Talking about Grady Jarrett here, situation at 8. Different positions. I mean, that's the bottom line of it. Davis, I mean, I guess Davis could play some 3 technique stuff, but you're bringing in Davis to be more of that shade nose at 1 technique, where Grady's obviously the 1 gapping, penetrating 3 technique over to 4 or 5. So the guys you're talking about here in Grady's role specifically are more so the Devontae Wyatts of the draft, the Logan Halls of the draft, and the Perion Winfreys, not your Jordan Davis / Travis Jones.
So Kyler Gordon with the second pick, 43 at corner. Your thoughts on that spot?
I like Kyler Gordon. He's a good player. I wish he'd have tested a little bit better, and I'm not sure if he has the athleticism to play the boundary. But what he is, he's kind of a cornerback safety hybrid and a very good physical tackler from that corner spot. So you are projecting him to the outside, which always adds a little bit of risk. But good player, length, et cetera, et cetera. He's got an interesting background, I think, in like kung fu and ballet as well. So fun player in that regard. But again, projection to the outside, I don't mind him here. Add secondary pieces. This is kind of more of instead of the draft specific here, team building philosophy. Cornerback position in general is a very volatile position year to year because so much depends on health. And even if you have a slightly tweaked hamstring, your play can drop precipitously. So throwing resources at the secondary and having good depth in the secondary is probably the best way year to year to have a stable, above average defense. We've seen that with the Ravens historically, have been a pretty consistent top 10, top 5 defense. And what they've done over the last 5 to 7 years has been throw resources at the secondary. So that's something to consider as well. I don't think there's such a thing as having enough quality depth in the secondary. The other thing about the secondary is it's a first failure system. Unlike the pass rush, where you just need one guy to succeed and the whole unit succeeds, in the secondary, one guy fails, the whole unit fails. The offense can dictate where the ball goes. So it's really definitely a weakest link argument in position. So adding premium players there, spending early draft capital there, I'm never going to have an issue with it.
Yeah, and Chris says, does he make sense? I like the idea of getting ready to adjust and move in when we move on from Hayward. And frankly, you're playing 6 defensive backs a lot. You're in dime package a lot. So he'd be on the field. It makes sense. However, you always ask, who else was there? Who else would you pick? So for me, the very next pick was where I would have gone. Number 44, the Cleveland Browns. Mel Kiper has them selecting Travis Jones, defensive tackle, nose guard from Utah. That's the pick I would have made. That's like,
yeah.
I wouldn't say my dream, but if that's the guy I want in the second, if you can get him in the second round, 330 pounds, sub 5-second 40. If Jordan Davis hadn't gone berserk, more people would be talking about Travis Jones.
Yeah,
I think he's better at this stage than Christian Barmore was last year, who had a good season last year. And he's round peg, round hole for what the Falcons need, who got bullied up the middle. When you've got Mike Pennell coming, Anthony Rush, who they pulled off a practice squad starting at nose guard, and you've got 6'3" or 6'4", 330 pounds of athletic Travis Jones at nose guard. That's where I would have gone with that pick. Some other guys that were available: Cam Jurgens, center, Baltimore Ravens, 5. That makes sense for the Falcons. They could use an upgrade there. Trey McBride, tight end. Sky Moore, wide receiver. You can go wide receiver in this spot too. One of the guys I really like, let me see how quickly they have him off the board, is Christian Watson.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the guys I forgot to look for to see how quickly he went off. And they've got Desmond Ridder going as the last pick in the first round. They have Christian Watson. Kiper picks him all the way at 22, Nick. At 22.
That's shocking to me.
To the Packers, which I have seen. I have seen that.
Packers do like heavy wide receivers and big wide receivers, so that makes some sense. Question for me: where do they have Sky Moore?
He went just after those picks. Okay. I did mention him. You put batteries in your earphones, right? Because that's twice.
Yes, I did. Yeah. No, I did. I absolutely love Sky Moore. That's my
Sky
guy.
Moore went 47 to Washington.
And where did Alec Pierce go? I know that's one of your guys as well.
Pierce would go later.
Okay.
62 to the Chiefs.
Okay. Man,
But again, I do like Alex Pierce a lot too. And based on the picks earlier, if we go down to 58, you've got Drake Jackson, outside linebacker edge of USC at 58 via the Julio Jones pick. Now, they've gone wide receiver, corner, now edge, where I had gone tackle, because I took Evan Neal on this mock, tackle, nose guard. So edge again here makes sense.
Yeah.
You still got to do the pass rush. So edge definitely makes sense, but does Drake Jackson make sense at this spot at 58, Nick?
I think he does. He's a pterodactyl. He has crazy arm length, and he played a pretty weird role at USC this last season, where they had him down at like 240, and I don't think that's best for his body type. Now, why is he? If you recall, about a year ago now, he was being talked about consistently in the top 5, top 10, and now he's down here. Why is that? He's a little bit soft. I don't think his physicality is up to snuff, and doesn't really have much power moves in his repertoire or edge setting. That said, he apparently, I think, got up to like 270 for his pro day, and has the frame to carry that weight, no doubt about it. It had explosive jumps at the combine, good runs as well. And some of his finesse slash bend slash, like the ghost moves from the edge are very good. So I'd have no issue with him here, given the athletic tools to get after the passer are pretty high, honestly. So, and also I think he's exceedingly young. I think he was 20 years old last year as well. And in a draft class where a bunch of these guys are 23, 24 years old, getting somebody who is 2-3 years younger does have some value, projectable upside there that they don't have the years in the league and the coaching to get up there. So I really like Drake Jackson. If you're looking for more of a finesse guy, and I see Chris Walker in here saying I'd rather have Pascal from Kentucky. Pascal probably a little bit better edge setting, but he doesn't have the length, and he's also one of those 23, 24-year-old guys as well. So I think you probably will see Drake Jackson go before Pascal, but it's really a flavor preference here. If Pascal, my biggest holdup with Pascal is his arm length isn't very good. I think he's like 30th, 35th percentile, where Drake Jackson's like 95. But both good players.
He does go 71. I really like Josh Pascal, though. I love his motor, his athleticism, all that type of stuff. So I am a fan. And if when we go through our mock live here in a couple minutes, you're going to see that Pascal has moved up. He has definitely moved up. Going down to talking about the players that were available at 58. So we got Drake Jackson, some guys that might make sense: Cole Strange, guard, center. Alec Pierce at 62 makes a lot of sense. Does make a lot of sense. Wide receiver is a huge need, obviously. And I didn't go wide receiver with the first pick, obviously. But Alec Pierce with the second pick in the second round, 58 overall at 58. Yes, please. So I might go that direction. And then hope I can get somebody else at 74 for edge. I think I'm running out of wide receivers at 74. So my draft in this case on their board would be Evan Neal, Travis Jones, Alec Pierce. So let's move down to 74 now.
And real quick, just getting back to Drake Jackson, crazy to see this. I just had to make sure it was correct, because his combine, he came in at 254, pro day 273. Which I don't know what happened there, and then he did his agility drills at the pro day as well, and they weren't elite, but at 273, I mean 428 short shuttle and 709 3-cone is pretty good for his body type and his height. So don't have any issue with that for a player like that. But really crazy to see him add that much weight. And again, he played at probably about 240 at USC last year. So adding 30 pounds is insane. Insane difference.
Yeah, that's and then to still be agile, which is good. At 74. Mel Kiper's on the board with the evens, and he takes an inside linebacker that I really like, Troy Anderson out of Montana State. I love Troy Anderson. I really do. And it is a need. You need somebody to take up the Foye Oluokan's role. I think this would be a good pick if he's healthy. The concerns there, Nick, I know you've got some concerns about his health.
Yeah. He had reconstructive shoulder surgery in high school that apparently I've heard was flagged to the combine. Now it's that type of year where somebody's like, oh, did you hear about his shoulder? Blah, blah, blah. Maybe he's going to be knocked down, 10 spots and get us within range. Freak athlete. Biggest thing for me is that I think he is sorting through trash is still a little bit of an issue with him, the physicality part of the linebacker position. And with somebody as athletic as Troy Anderson, typically you think, okay, that's an easy plug and play. If he doesn't work out at linebacker, he can work out at edge. But you also need a little bit of mass and physicality to do that as well. The linebackers who have worked out that way are Hulks, Micah Parsons types, the Devin White types. You have freak athletes that are a little bit smaller that haven't made that transition, such as Devin Bush, for example, because they just don't have the length or the mass behind them to work as that edge rusher. So don't know if that's going to be the case for Troy Anderson.
That said, man, Troy Anderson's 6'3.5", 245 pounds.
But the tape-wise, it's just you don't see and I think he almost measures pretty similarly to Devin Bush.
Micah. He's pretty close to Micah.
I think Micah has like 2 or 3 inches on his arm length on him, which makes a big difference in today's NFL. Also, Micah plays with a lot more force and violence. Just insane. But
what I like, again, when you start looking up football player in the dictionary, and you see a guy that played quarterback, running back, and linebacker, and was all conference on both sides of the ball. I don't care if it's Montana State. That dude's a football player. And then he's 6'3.5", 243, running 4.4. Yeah, I'll take a chance on him.
Yeah.
That said, at 74, I also see the next pick, 76, Baltimore Ravens, Perrion Winfrey, the defensive lineman who now I've addressed 3 spots across my line. I haven't gotten edge yet. That's true. I have not gotten edge. That's the problem. However, the front 5, if I go 2 edge and then the 3 defensive linemen, the front 5, there was 1 player on that team last year for the Atlanta Falcons. There was 1. It was Grady Jarrett. Now I've got 2. They're rookies, but they're better than who I had last year. I've gotten better. So I got Travis Jones, and I'd probably take Perrion Winfrey in that spot and drop him in on the opposite side. So I go Perrion Winfrey, Travis Jones, Grady Jarrett. That's the spot I would take. So my picks at this spot, let's see, we went Evan Neal, then we went Travis Jones, wide receiver Alec Pierce, defensive lineman, and in a 3-4 Perrion Winfrey. Speaking of arm length, I think he's got about 83.5-inch arms. Very, very happy with him.
Yep.
A couple of other guys, DeVarvin Leal, who was mocked to the Falcons at 12 earlier, is all the way down to 77.
Yeah. And the thing also about drafting is this is kind of a strategy you see a lot of more of the analytical teams use, but just because you took one position that you need doesn't mean you're done taking that position in the draft. You've seen the Eagles and the Patriots do this quite often where they'll double up in positions in the draft and you then double your chances that one of those guys is going to hit and make a difference on your team. And if both hit, hallelujah, good for you. But there's no guarantees in the draft. So if you like both those guys, especially when I think there are probably 5 defensive linemen in this class that are worthy of a top 100 pick, then hallelujah, run with it, have fun, take both players. I have no issue with that at all.
And then the final pick in this mock, Kiper had 4 of the 5 picks. He took Matthew Butler, defensive tackle from Tennessee. He says, let's continue the Falcons' perfect class since I've done 4 of the 5 picks. Butler's underrated. Watch his tape against Alabama, and you'd think he was a first-round lock. He was inconsistent at times, but he has rare endurance for a 300-pounder, and he could play end in a 3-4. Now, I don't know as much about Butler, Nick.
Good player, leader. We took him in our last mock draft there in the 4th round for the Broncos. A little bit leaner, more of a single gap penetrator type, but good length, good height as well. Pretty good player there at Tennessee, and I believe he was a team captain as well, very highly spoken of. So I like Butler a good bit. Questions about his ability to anchor 2 gaps. Definitely, I don't know if that's in the cards for him, but versatility, twists and stunts to get some pressure up front. I think that's a good pick for you there at 96. Maybe not a runaway value, but makes sense about where I think he should go.
Yeah, and depending on what I've done, because I've already gone that direction twice now with Perrion Winfrey and Travis Jones, I might get my corner here. Zion McCollum's at 93 from McShay to the 49ers, or I could get an edge guy, a developmental prospect in D'Angelo Malone, edge, who's going to the Chiefs at 94.
What wide receivers are available?
Let's see. Starting from, where were we, 82?
Yes.
From 82 moving down, like I said, this is why I want to do Alec Pierce a little higher because it starts getting thinner. Bo Melton, 88 to the Cowboys.
I love Bo
Velus
Melton.
Jones, the speedster out of Tennessee, who had a great Senior Bowl, to the Titans. And then it gets slim. Then they're done. There are no more taken for the rest of the – and then David Bell, Purdue, which McShay gives a wishy-washy, I'm done with this, I'm tired analysis on. So to me, that makes another reason why to make that I might go Alec Pierce at that 58 spot.
Yeah.
Because I think it starts falling off after that at the receiver position. And I could get, Alec Pierce is what, 6'3", 215, running 4.4s with a 40-inch vertical leap. I like him a lot, especially at that spot in the second round. I'd much rather have him at 58 than Drake London at 8.
Yeah. Different kind of players, but
it's basically saying, would you rather have Evan Neal and Alec Pierce or Drake London?
I'd rather have Evan Neal and Alec Pierce.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's easy. That one's easy.
Yeah. So I was just curious because I think I might have gone with Drake Jackson or Josh Pascal there at that other second round pick and rolled the dice on wide receiver there, seeing if somebody falls to the second, maybe third round pick, maybe a Jalen Tolbert and John Mechie maybe falls, a Calvin Austin. I really like Danny Gray from SMU. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch him yet. He interests me a good bit. And you mentioned Bo Melton as well. A little bit more of a slot, but I think a pretty good player there. So
Jalen Tolbert can play a little bit too, but it seems to me like once you hit that 60 range, it falls off at wide receiver right now.
Yep.
It could. We'll see.
Especially if they're going to go off the board like crazy, which sounds like it's a possibility.
Yeah, and that's why I was again repeating myself, but I do like Alec Pierce at that spot. So
yeah,
that is our mock draft based on their board. Now, before we get out of here, let's run through this real quick. I want to do the PFF has updated their board. Pro Football Focus has updated their board. And we're going to run through a mock draft here real quick. And we're going to see some of the names that we hadn't seen that we've been able, like I said, we've been able to cheat it a little bit. And get some guys later that now we're going to have to use higher picks on if we still want to get them. But that means somebody else had to fall. It's not not everybody can move up. So on there's Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Gardner, Stingley, Icky, Kyle, Evan Neal. That means someone is available of my top guys.
It's Trayvon Walker time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's Trayvon Walker. See, they've got Trayvon Walker ranked at 12. So if Trayvon Walker falls there, I'm definitely going Trayvon Walker. That one's easy.
Yep.
Number 8.
Trayvon Walker, edge rusher. Maybe there's going to be some versatility there. 5 technique, 3 technique on some rundowns, whatever.
Tyler Gordon went 42. That was one pick before. There's Travis Jones. That's my guy. Like I said, I want him to fall there. If he's sitting at 38 and I start getting itchy, and I might pull a Broncos trade last year where the Broncos moved up and traded a 4th to move up and get Javonte Williams. I might send a 4th back to somebody to move up and try and get Travis Jones. On the clock, some of the players available: Tyler Smith, Leo Chennault, Nick Benito, Desmond Ridder, Jake Jackson. See, there's Josh Pascal all the way up there at 44 now.
Yep.
Remember, we used to get him with that 80 pick.
Yeah.
Abraham Lucas, I really like there at tackle. And there's Troy Anderson.
Yeah. So for me, the guy that makes sense in the mock for the Broncos here is, the Falcons. Excuse me, Falcons. Yes. The Falcons is Desmond Ridder. Definitely does interest me some. I think he's going to be a first-round pick when it's all said and done. I think he's a lot like Marcus Mariota, honestly, but I think the one to go with here is Tyler Smith.
Okay, I was going to say that is Tyler Smith a first-round grade? If we're willing to go Evan Neal, is Tyler Smith good enough for a 43 pick, and then you plug him in at right tackle? I could live with that. I'd like to go edge, but I'm going to gamble that I can do that at 58 when I can sew up my right tackle position right now, which was a gaping hole. I
will say for Tyler Smith, I would not be dependent on him year one because his technique is raw. He was a penalty machine at Tulsa last year, but he's only 20. That was only 20 years old, which is crazy for a guy from Tulsa jumping into the league that early. And he is an amazing power player. If you want to be able to run the football, either he's going to work at tackle.
Smith does.
Yep. Yes, exactly. He's got the arm length and the movement skills to stick at tackle. It's just his technique is all over the place right now. So again, I don't think you want to depend on him year one. It might still be Caleb McGarry this year until say halfway through the season, or if you want to play him at guard and then maybe eventually slide him over to tackle in 2023. But Tyler Smith is a good pick here. You're definitely betting on traits and upside with those first 2 picks, but that's the draft.
And Clee says it'll be sad if you draft Walker there and he continues to produce like he did in college. If he does his job like he's asked to and the Falcons are winning championships like he did at Georgia, that'd be okay. But I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Falcons couldn't set an edge at all. And it started from the outside in. Fabian Moreau was awful at corner at that. He basically just run out of bounds. Stephen Means, Dante Fowler, Ogundeji, rookie 5th-round pick. They were horrible at setting an edge. So, again, I'd be okay with that. Max Mitchell in the 3rd for Chris Walker. I don't want Max Mitchell in the 6th. He's off. He might not be off the board for me, but it's pretty close. He didn't test well, and that was after a really bad showing at the Senior Bowl. So for my sample size on Max Mitchell, I wouldn't take him. I might take a flyer in the 6th round, and that's just because, well, maybe I'm wrong. Other people are seeing things I can't. Maybe I'm just wrong. But for me, I wouldn't draft him at all.
Yeah, and this one, 58 now for the Falcons. I think it's pretty obvious we're going to go Josh Pascal.
Yep.
You need
Getting
an edge.
my edge. I gambled that one of those guys would fall, and Josh did.
And I prefer Josh Pascal over Nick Benito personally. I like the guys with a little bit more power to them that have value on 1st and 2nd down, not a pass rush specialist that is what Nick Benito is right now. But now on the board with 74 overall. I have some thoughts here, but I'm eager to hear what you have to say first.
I like Zach Tom again. Because he's listed as a tackle here, but you think he's more of a guard.
I think he's more of a guard. It's more so outside zone scheme. I did talk with Brandon Thorne some about him, and he's a little bit concerned with him just because the projection is a little bit wait and see for him because the scheme that he played at Wake Forest is not super translatable to the NFL. But Zach Tom does interest me here. I honestly like Dylan Parham more here, but I don't know if you need to go interior offensive line. I think the guy that's screaming out to me,
I've got to have some insurance for Jalen Mayfield. I have to.
I think you can wait.
And they've addressed that a little bit in free agency.
Yeah.
But the way when I look at this, I like Cam Taylor-Britt.
That's the one that stands out to me.
But I also really like Tariq Woolen. And I've got pick 74 and 82.
I also really like John Mechie here.
I do like John Mechie here too, and I haven't gotten a receiver. So let's do that and hope one of those two guys falls to 82. More than likely Tariq Woolen.
There goes Tariq Woolen.
There goes Tariq Woolen.
But you have the
Cam Taylor-Britt stayed.
Yep. Easy pick.
Okay. So that worked out for us. I got wide receiver and defensive back.
This one's actually working out quite swimmingly for us. So far, I've really liked every single pick. So shout out to us. How about that? We are on the board again. Cam Jurgens, you want to add some upside. And I think that's going back to back Nebraska.
Cam Jurgens is a really good center. I could use some Drew Dahlman could work some there. But I still, flexing back and forth. But he's no sure thing. 4th-round pick last year. Cam Jurgens at center for Matt Hennessy, who PFF seemed to like fairly well. I didn't think he was that great. So I want some interior line help.
Can we look around the board? That's okay. I'm fine with Jurgens. Nope, totally.
Yeah,
totally,
Cam Jurgens is a really good player. It's a good pick.
All right, so we'll be on the board again here. Oh man, I really like both. And like we talked about it earlier, doubling up on positions. If you want to be able to set the edge with a heavy player, Alex Wright's probably one of the biggest edges in this class at like 6'7", 270. I also really like Braxton Jones.
We've gone offensive line. We could have gone Braxton Jones there. He's moved up too. He's one of those guys that has moved up considerably that we always like. Dane Belton from Iowa has moved up a lot. Look where he was. He was off the board. Now he's moved up over 100 spots.
Yeah, he was a cheating player. I like Spencer Burford, but we just took our movable guy. I like Daniel Bellinger. If you're looking for a tight end, we haven't taken one yet, and Daniel Bellinger would be a very good
complement. Would you rather have Uzurike or Alex Wright?
Can we see who we've taken so far? Is that a thing? I just need to...
I don't know. I haven't been able to find that on here.
Well, okay. I know that we took an edge already.
Some of the other ones you can click here. You click on the team name.
I don't see maybe analysis? Nope. All right. 100% tackle. That doesn't help us a lot. We've already taken
Wright or Uzurike is probably where I'd want to go.
we've taken a cornerback, we've taken blah blah blah. We just took an interior offensive lineman, right? Cam Jurgens. That doesn't
Yep.
make sense.
You need 3 edges. You didn't have 1 last year. Dante Fowler was your best edge.
Aruzarike listed edge here is a massive oversight by PFF. He is not an
I could use a
edge.
defensive lineman then too.
He's a defensive lineman. Yes. No, he's a defensive lineman. He's a pure 5 technique with good length and power. And I'd have no issue with it. I think that skill set is a little bit fading in today's multiple front defenses. I also would say that who do we take with the first? Have we taken a pure tackle yet? I don't think we've taken a tackle. No, we did.
Yeah,
We took
we
Tyler
took Tyler
Smith.
Smith
Yeah, we did.
with our
See,
second
this is
round
why
pick.
it'd be good to see what we've done.
I'm going to Uzurike.
Let's go Uzurike. I do think that they have corrected a mistake here. Another guy who rocketed up boards that I absolutely love is Daniel Bellinger there. And if you want to be a team that lives in 12, 21
there's Alex
personnel,
Wright still.
and we could use another edge. So I think it's between Alex Wright and Dane Belton.
We were thinking about taking that one last time.
Yeah. So good pick. Looking now, Dane Belton's still there. See, the thing is broken. Take Dane Belton.
It's still going against average draft pick. That's part of the thing. So we picked up a really good safety. We picked up a guy ranked 100 at that spot. So
all of the mocks are going to have those guys going late. Yeah, this is Yep.
Doing good. We're doing good. Yeah, I could live with that.
This is as good as you could ever freaking hope for. However, 2 Nebraska players and an Iowa State player kind of killing me here. Why does John Mechie get a picture, but everybody else gets a logo? What's going on here?
I don't know. Maybe he's got a better agent.
If you play at Alabama, we'll put your picture on there.
Let me go. Let me see if I can get everybody in there. But edge, Trayvon Walker falls. Tyler Smith, B+. Can never have enough tackles again. What have I said about this draft? Trenches. The only one I missed on that I probably would have liked to have is Travis Jones.
Yeah.
Edge, tackle, wide receiver, corner, center, DL, edge, safety.
And you can even call Alex Wright.
I'd be pretty happy with that. What say you, boards? Give us a like and subscribe if you like this one. Ethan coming in. Even better with the super. Said good draft, gents.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be over the moon with that pick with that draft for the Falcons. That would be cooking with gas. I might just send this over. Here you go. Just follow this board. Take this one. Where did Christian Watson go? That's a good question. Let me see. I can see if I doubt he went in the first.
Can you control F it? Is that a thing?
There are images on here.
I don't see it.
So Jameson, I don't think he went in the first. Full results. There we go.
Now you can do Control F Watson. Yeah, there he is.
50 to the Chiefs.
Ugh.
Christian Watson.
Woof.
Went 50 to the Chiefs. I swear it's either the Ravens or the Chiefs every time. We're like, I love this player. Where'd he go? Ravens. Chiefs.
At least they're the AFC for you. But yeah, no, this is overall, I think, a pretty good mock. I do think that maybe we just it's too bad we didn't walk away with an interior defensive lineman who's more of that true 0-1 technique in this class, because we took technically 3 edges and then a 5 technique. And Alex Wright might end up being a 5 technique as well. But again, you're talking about after the first, let's say the pick cutoff is 114. Everything else, you're just hoping and praying that they even make the team.
Can I get a contributor anywhere?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. So people get too upset. Oh, why did you take another edge at pick 190? What's the odds of 190 even making the team?
Because he was ranked 83.
Yeah. Yep. So, and look at that grade. PFF actually liked it because you took those A+ at the end. So, yeah, this is a great draft. I got no issue with it. I also love the John Mechie pick. You talk about he might not even play this year, and because I think I'm not sure how the rule works with the non-football injury, but you might be able to put him on the NFI injury list, and then you'd get a restriction year after his contract, after it's over. So you get essentially a kick that year over for one more year of control. I think. I'm not sure if that's the case if you get injured in college.
Okay, good. I wanted to look on full results. I think Michael comes in and says, I think Walker has gone before 8, unfortunately. I do too. Mm-hmm. And then Joe Cannon asks, where did Tito Agbonia go? Crap. Oh. Kate Otten. Nope, just one T. OTI. Hard part's learning how to spell his name.
There he is, 132.
132 to the Packers. That that makes. Who did we ever figure out the guy's name that I couldn't ever remember, the grave digger?
Nope, not for me.
Did I forget it? Did I forget again already? He was a big nose guard for the Packers.
Was it Brown?
Nope, doesn't sound right. I'll have to remember who that is. I don't remember. But on that note, everybody, let me stop this share. On that note, I want to thank everybody for being here. We had a lot of fun. Some good stuff. Talked some Grady Jarrett. We talked some. We broke down the Mel Kiper and Todd McShay mock draft. I think they did a good job on that. I give Todd McShay enough grief that I think they did a good job on that one. And then we did our own mock draft that we're pretty happy with. So I'm going to post it. So if you don't mind, follow me at Scout Kennedy and give it a retweet, a like, and a share. All that type of stuff. And if you are watching after the fact, hit the comments. Hit the comments on YouTube. That's where I'm answering all the time. You say, why did you take another edge? Yeah. And maybe it was Gilbert Brown. Yeah, Gilbert sounds right. Brown doesn't. Yeah, the grave digger. I love that dance.
I remember him. I used to watch the when I was a kid, the VHS tapes of the Broncos Super Bowl seasons every year. And in that 1998 Super Bowl, he just looked defeated because the Broncos outside zone scheme, those small guys getting and moving laterally, trying to tackle Terrell Davis. Not so good for the 380-pound whatever.
Block like crazy. That was the old Alex Gibbs days.
Yes, it was.
He had guys, he had these Chihuahuas, 280-pound guards, ankle biting them the whole time.
Yep. Yeah,
he might have come down and dropped an elbow on the back of somebody's neck too. Yeah. All right, I'll fall on you. But on that note, we are going to get out of here. You can catch us again tomorrow on Mile High Huddle, the YouTube channel, and we'll see what we're talking about, what kind of news breaks. Any final words besides go Chelsea? Chelsea Arsenal today at 3:00. For those of you who don't have anything to do, 3 Eastern. Tune in. This is almost a must win for Arsenal, not necessarily so for Chelsea. The form table makes Chelsea heavy favorites, but my luck, Arsenal will win. They always seem to get right against Chelsea. They need it more. 1 week till the draft. Going to have a lot of fun with that. We're going to do some extra content next week. On that note, Nick, any final thoughts?
Nope. Gonna get on out here, walk the dog. You guys have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow morning on Broncos for breakfast. And go Chelsea. Yeah, and hopefully the draft will go as swimmingly for Terry Fontenot and the Atlanta Falcons as it just did for us. They could do a lot worse. Yeah. That's for sure. But thanks everybody for being here. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Ethan, our Super Chat superstars today, for helping to keep the lights on and keep my forehead nice and shiny in the bright lights. So until next time, we will see you later.